Remember Me. Elope to the Sea on AO3. Episode 5. Chapter 4. Try Not to Break. Bakugo is gone. No one knows what to do. Teachers told him to wait, but it just didn't feel right. We need to save him. Kirishima was the one who spoke first, the one who started everything. But only a few of their classmates followed his lead. 5 of them, to be exact. Momo, as class representative, was incredibly worried and against all odds, joined their idea. Todoroki, as the vice president, did too, just because Momo asked him to. Kaminari and Mini jumped in without second-guessing, ready to save their friend. They all made up at Kirishima's house. So, the plan is to have Momo make us a home device. Follow the signal. Mina asked, her face all scrunched up in worry. And save Bakugo ourselves? Yeah, Kirishima agreed. He was obviously the most shaken of all. I feel like we can do it. Maybe so. Momo agreed, but you could see she was weighing the options in her head. If we don't really try to attack them and instead of focusing on a stealth mission, there's a high chance we'll be able to get out of there alive. You see? Kirishima said, turning to everyone, who was still hesitant. But Momo interrupted. What do we really know about the enemy? It's still highly risky if you ask me. I will support you, but unless we can make this work with a higher chance it'll succeed, I'm afraid I might need to turn you down. Bakugo's in danger! Kirishima was trembling, most likely fear of what could happen to his friend. We need to help him. Isn't that what heroes do? We're breaking the rules, so I'm not sure if I could call ourselves heroes this time, Kaminari said with a heavy, grim look on his face. Anti-heroes, Mina said aloud, wondering. Everyone turned to see her. I just recalled those idiots of the hero lovers. That's what they said they were. Not heroes, not villains. Why bring them up? Kaminari glared, still conscious that they sent him into the hospital, leaving him unable to complete the sports festival. I just remembered, that's all. Mina said, trying to shrug it off. At the mention of hero lovers, a strange idea popped into Todoroki's head. It wasn't safe, or what any reasonable hero would do, but... Actually, Todoroki spoke for the first time since their improvised meeting. Everyone turned to see him as he continued. There might be a way for us to get information. If that guy had anything, it was information. Really? Mina asked, suddenly brightening up. How? I kind of know someone who might be willing to help. Todoroki said, but to be honest, he wasn't sure. Izuku was unpredictable, even in his best-case scenario. Who? Kirishima said, but he, if it meant saving Bakugo, it didn't seem it mattered who it was. They're part of the hero lovers. He dropped the name, so they could reject him already if they truly hated him. This person kinda owes me a favor. Wait. Mina said, her eyes big in surprise. You're telling me the hero lovers owe you a favor? Well, to be honest, Todoroki wasn't sure if he had meant it. Izuku wasn't one to lie. At least, he liked to think so. But he was a master of twisting his own words, so who knew if he'd agree at all? It's complicated, Todoroki said, not daring to see anyone in the eyes. That's our #1 student in the hero course, Momo said out loud, accosted by the turn of the situation. He even has contacts with the enemies. Would they be willing to help us? Mina asked, furrowing her eyebrows. Last time I checked, they were massive assholes who almost wiped away the entire class. I wouldn't know, Todoroki said sincerely. As I said, the contact is a bit complicated. But they could, right? Kirishima's voice cut through everyone's doubt. It was firm, unwavering. They could help us, right? Todoroki nodded slowly. If I manage to convince them, yes. Todoroki said, they'll help us. I don't trust them. Mina was the first to voice her concerns. I don't know, Kirishima. These are the guys who completely neutralized my acid in seconds and actually hurt you even when you were using your quirk. They're dangerous. Todoroki couldn't say he disagreed. The more reason to have their help. He said, if they're on our side, we could save Bakugo. Teaming up with villains? Mama had to say it. Are you crazy? Who knows what they'll do or ask in return? Todoroki says it's a favor. Kirishima turned to Todoroki, who sighed at what weight was being put in him. I trust this person, he said, looking up to everyone. But they aren't heroes. If you choose to trust them, that's your decision. I'm in, Kirishima said, not bothering to hesitate. I don't trust them, but I trust you. If there's someone you keep contact with, they can't be entirely bad. Todoroki sighed. I need a paper, he said, wondering if Izuku would agree to help his classmates out. I'm not sure if it's my place to ask for a favor, but our class is in trouble. Would you help if I asked? Todoroki. He handed the piece of paper to the cashier. Izuku sometimes came later at the night, or early in the morning. As long as there were no people, of course. Each day it became more difficult to see him in person. Sure, I told you I would help you, if you ever needed my help. Come by the abandoned arcade by 8. We'll be waiting. Izuku. He said we. Mina pointed out as they walked through the empty streets. There'll be more people, you know. We need to go tonight, Kirishima said, his eyes fixed on the piece of paper Todoroki had given them. With or without their help. Are you even listening? Mina said, looking around. These guys might try to abduct or kill us. Unlikely, Todoroki said, without a moment to doubt his words. If we get to talk to him, I'm sure he'll help us out. Did you really need to go to the convenience store before we came here? Kirishima asked, looking at the candy bars that Todoroki had in his hands. It's a peace offering, if things go too bad, he said, but he didn't think things would go bad. Actually, he had just bought them because he wondered how long Izuku had gone without his favorite candy bar. They stared at the abandoned arcade and waited silently. You should go first, Kaminari told Todoroki, who looked at him weirdly. You're the one who got invited, not us. Fair enough. Todoroki would have argued, but he knew that the hero lovers were not the most stable of people. If they saw someone unfamiliar, maybe they would attack. He stepped inside, and a bubbly girl looked at him in the eyes. You must be Todoroki, the girl said, stepping aside to let him in. Izuku told us a lot about you. He told me a lot about you, too. He tossed a bag of chips. They didn't have cheesy ones. Sorry. And Denium, look what your friend bought me. Ochako ran towards the other side of the arcade, and Todoroki got in too. He signaled his classmates to follow him. The inside was grim, but not in the way it could resemble his house. Everything was old and dirty, but it showed signs of being used constantly. It was the polar opposite of everything back with Endeavor. The girl showed the other man the chips she had been gifted with, the boy turning to see them. Is he your contact? Kirishima asked in a low voice. No, he's not here. Todoroki chose to say that only, and went to the wall in the corner. His part of the deal was done. The rest was up to his classmates. He turned to the man. You don't really ask for things, so I didn't bring you anything. The boy simply hummed and turned to the other 4 kids. Oh, Pinky, you're here, Uraraka said, waving enthusiastically. Mina glared. So what do you need? And Genium asked, his voice resounding in the arcade. We are only aware that you want our help, but nothing has said of what you need. Everyone stared at each other. Everyone in panic. It was normal, Todoroki guessed. These were the guys who almost killed Kaminari and had defeated them in the USJ. The one to step in front of everyone was Kirishima, to no one's surprise. A friend of ours has been kidnapped by the League of Villains, Kirishima said, his eyes hard, trying not to give away his desperation. We're planning to break in, but we need information about... Information? Uraraka said, opening her bag of chips. Kids, do you have any idea how valuable the hero lover information is for both heroes and villains? Heroes? Kaminari asked, raising an eyebrow. Heroes come to you for information. Of course they do, Uraraka mocked, eating a chip. Not your elite heroes who are too high in their status to ask for help, but some do. That's not the point. And Genium interrupted. You're asking for too much. The League of Villains have classified information we wouldn't even dare give to All Might or Endeavor. We need to save our friend, Mina said, and for a moment, he saw something flash in Arabity's eyes. I'm sorry, but this has nothing to do with us. And Genium stepped in. His hands were put in front of Uraraka, almost in a protective way. You agreed to help us, Mina said back, her teeth showing. We agreed to help him. Uraraka pointed toward Todoroki, and he hasn't said a thing. Todoroki, man, help us, Kirishima begged, but Todoroki stared at the girl. I would, if I could, Todoroki said, but I don't know them. It would be risky to demand from them when the person who agreed to help me is other. You're really smart. I can see why he has taken a liking to you. Uraraka smiled as she said this, and Todoroki tried not to blush. He's right. He agreed to do this with someone else, and while we trust that person's judgment in regard of him, we don't know if we should trust you four. We're Todoroki's friends. Isn't that good enough connection? Mina asked, and Todoroki felt glad they considered him their friend. Huh, I wonder, Uraraka said, her eyes closed as she nibbled on the chip. If you don't have anything, we are sorry to say we won't help you, and Genium said, turning around. Todoroki didn't feel like Izuku would do this kind of play, just leave them hanging when he asked for his help. If anything, it seemed like the guys were enjoying themselves for making their classmates suffer. He was almost sure they were simply toying with them, and as soon as he reached Izuku, he would help them, so he just waited. Oh, come on, Ingenium, Uraraka said with a false tone of compassion. They're just kids. We could help them. For the right price, I mean. The right price? Mina asked, horrified. Everything has a price, honey. Uraraka got up, her hands forming the coin sign in her eyes. Information and loyalty, everything does. How much are you willing to pay to save your friend? She's right, Momo said, stepping to defend her friend. Everything has a price. How much do you want? Uraraka looked at the girl and simply frowned. You're no fun, she said, dropping to a couch. $100 sounds right. Are you Mina started screaming, but Momo interrupted. Sounds fine by me, Momo said. We'll give it to you after the mission's over. Boring, Uraraka said, getting up once again, and Ingenium began walking to the back door. You heroes think you could solve anything with a simple flick of a finger. How boring. Oh well, we'll check with our partner and tell you in a sec. Todoroki guessed so. They were going to discuss this with Izuku first. He was ready to get up and go meet him when Kirishima yelled, I don't have time for this! Kirishima seemed to be on edge with each minute that passed. I don't have time for this! Kirishima seemed to be on the edge with each minute that passed by. Bakugo could die if we don't hurry! Everyone stared. Kirishima was on the verge of crying, as he knew time was running in between their hands. But Todoroki knew they had to be careful. Silence fell into the room, as the five just stared at the ground, scared of something happening to someone they knew, not being able to help. Can you? Uraraka's voice cut through the silence. Todoroki looked up to see her blankly staring at Kirishima. Can you repeat that name? Bakugo, Kirishima said, his voice trembling in fear of losing his friend. Bakugo Katsuki. Uraraka finished the name, her eyes filled with horror. Kachan. They hurt Kachan? Izuku, Todoroki called, not knowing entirely why. You and you. Uraraka pointed at Momo and Kirishima, her eyes ice cold as she turned around to exit the room. You will meet our boss. Everyone else should be prepared. At the strike of midnight, we will infiltrate the enemy's lair. Kirishima and Momo followed. Todoroki, and Genium called before entering the room. He wants to see you next. Your contact? Kaminari said, turning to look at Todoroki, slightly afraid. Is the leader of the hero lovers? I think so. Todoroki could only stare. Ooh, okay, so this is how Mina and Ochako get to know each other and get to talk in. This would be really interesting, especially if they form a bond over this. I like how Todoroki's just like, oh yeah, I know a man. Oh my god, it reminds me of that one, hold up, that arcane scene, like why are you in the Undercity? I told you, I knew a guy. You didn't say they were from the Undercity. What matter does that take? Or why does that matter? They're dangerous. I'm from the Undercity. Kind of situation. Obviously, in this case, Todoroki's not a villain, but like, it's kind of the whole thing, like, dude, why would you work with him? Like, what? Shut it. He's not dangerous, I promise. Really interesting. I can't wait to see everything go on. Obviously, Izuku was gonna help. I knew something was gonna happen. I think I mentioned this. I don't know if I did, but I knew something like this was gonna happen because, of course, Izuku is going to help. His Kachan is under fire. Of course, he's gonna help. I mean, duh. But yeah, I cannot wait to see this wholly pan out. So, as always, my raindrops, make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server and socials are down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content, and thank you so much for watching.